Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we are on Lesson 9, Chapter 9. We're going to be talking all about working with margins, padding, alignment, and floating. In this lesson, we're going to learn how to add margins around elements. We're going to learn how to add padding within elements. We're going to learn how to keep everything aligned, and we're going to learn how to use the float property. So basically, when we're talking about page layout, we want to understand that margins and padding, they're for adding space around elements, whereas align and float are for placing your elements in relationship to others. We're going to talk about more things as we move forward for page layout, but just understand these few concepts right now for this chapter. When going through Chapter 9, your book is going to give you some examples with red, green, blue, and yellow blocks or rectangles. They call them divs, and they're going to be showing you how to manipulate them. It's just an easy way to see it. But coming up next, I'm going to share my screen with you and show you how to use padding and margins. I'm going to use it with a div, but with a paragraph of text, so you can see that border around it and what adding padding does and what adding margins actually do. And I'll show you a couple different ways to use margins and padding. So in Lesson 9, we talk about padding. This is another example of how padding works. We see here to the right, this is how it's rendered in the browser, and this would be the code over here. Now the reason why we're seeing this background color and border around here is because we styled that. Now I'm going to comment that out. I'm also going to comment out the color white, because once I remove the background you won't be able to see that. So this is what we've kind of been dealing with so far. We have a div here. Now by styling this border around here, we can see that just by adding that border, we can see that this is that imaginary border that's around every element. By styling it black, we can see, and this is useful when you're want to test like paddings or margins and anything. Give something a border so you can see how it's working. So we gave this give it a light blue background, change the text to white just so we can kind of see what's going on. So notice we have padding top, padding right, padding bottom, padding left. They're all different values. These 4 different values represent the top, right, bottom, and left padding. So if I change padding top to 160 pixels, notice that it increases here. If I go back, if I change padding right to 140, if I change padding left to 190, hit run, notice how it increases. And if I even change the padding of the bottom, say 260, this whole box size increases. Another example of padding is using shorthand. Here we just have same type of div with some text, but we're just saying padding 25 pixels. What it's doing is it's putting 25 pixels at the top, right, bottom, and left. So if I change this to 125 pixels, it gives it 125 pixels all the way around. This is the shorthand way to use padding. Instead of doing all 4, you can just declare one value and it's all the same on all 4 sides. Another example is how margins work. Here we have same type, we have a div with some text, and we set some margins. Margin top, bottom, right, left. Now if we decreased the margin top to 10 pixels and the margin bottom to 10 pixels and we hit run, notice how it goes up there. If we increase the left margin to 180 and we put the bottom back to 100 and top back to 100, it goes over here more. And if we increase all these to 200, 250, 280, it moves down there and shrinks the box because you need a certain amount of space here, here, here. So it will resize this box to make that happen. believe this is how it originally was. When we're looking at that CSS box model, in our previous example, padding works inward, margins works outside of that. Same thing we did with padding. For margins, we can use a shorthand property, and we can actually set 1 or 2, 3, or 4 values. If we just set 1, all 4 sides. Now, if we set 2 values here, it will do the top and bottom, have this one, the first one, and the left and right have this. So if we say top and bottom have 125, if we say left and right have 10, and run, notice how it increases the top and bottom margin, and then left and right only have 10. So we'll put this back. And this is how to use shorthand. Doing 1 is all 4 sides, 2, first one is top and bottom, the second one is left and right. I have one more example here for you. Notice how when we were actually, let me go back for 1 second, resizing this and changing everything, it would resize this box. Well, suppose we don't want the box to go past a certain width. So here, this is just an example so we can see what a div at 340 pixels wide looks like. So this is a div that's 340 pixels wide, which is, this is the HTML right here, and this is the CSS to style that. Notice we gave it a background color, set the width to 340, text color, font weight, bold, just so we can see it. Here we have our second div. So the width is the same, 340. We talked about the border box sizing with the border box. Notice how if I increase this padding to say 125, it won't go past that width, but it will increase the height. So to add this padding 125 all the way around, it increases the height because it pushes this text in. Remember, padding goes inward. If I didn't have this box sizing property with the value of border box, and we went to change this padding to say 125, it would get really big. If we added more padding and say 225, it would get even bigger. So if we don't want it to extend, outside, we use this border box. Obviously, this looks ridiculous, but this is to stress an example of a point that it won't let the box go past this width that we want, and we'll still work with our padding. We can keep messing around with the padding, and it will stay that width that we want. So that is how to use the box sizing border box that it talks about in your book. So I hope that example helped a little bit. Coming up next, we have Lesson 9 PowerPoint presentation.